It's the 68th Annual New York State Woodsman Field Days at the Boonville Oneida County Fairgrounds. Phyllis, watch this transition right here as we hit the phone lines with Senator Joe Griffo. Joe Griffo, Forestry Exhibit Building, located at the Boonville site. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
All right, Senator Joe Griffo. Phyllis, thank you, and I hope everyone gets out there for the Woodsman Field Days. So head up there, and we're going to talk to the senator really quick. Senator, are you there?
Good morning, Jason. How are you? Phyllis does a great job up there. So we were with them earlier this week.
Thank you so
much. Phyllis, I'm glad to see the parade's back on Main Street, right?
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm. Thanks to your help and officials from the New York State Department of Transportation, I'm very happy to announce that we are going to stay on our Main Street route and have a great day on Saturday.
Well, you got a lot of good people working very hard, so just want to encourage everybody to get out and enjoy the Woodsman. It's a phenomenal event, and it's not only a good recreational event, but it's also great economically for our area.
All right, Senator, let's. You know why we have you on? We're talking about the Martin Luther King School situation. I know you sent out a letter to the Education Commissioner. I'm grabbing my notes if I can.
Sure. It's great to be with you, Jason, Mark.
Good morning.
Mark, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Never got a chance to do the chew, but
we will.
We'll be an opportunity in the future.
We're not going anywhere.
Yeah, over the last couple of years, King has made great progress, I think, under Superintendent Karam. They've put together some plans where they've demonstrated improvement in student performance, student attendance, less disciplinary problems. So as a result of that, what I've asked the state education commissioners to reevaluate and reexamine the designation to either remove or at least delay. And one of the things that I've learned as a result of the ongoing issues that are challenging many of our schools and the education community is that if we could work together to try to help them by using stakeholders, I think that would be a great way to find answers and to resolve the problem. Now, here's how I've recommended to the commissioner. What I've said to her is we should establish something that I'm calling a school empowerment assistance team, very similar to what the controller has done with local governments, where they put together a team when there's a fiscally distressed city or community, and they go in and try to work with the local officials to come up with a plan. So this would not be some new state agency or bureaucracy. It would actually be trying to take advantage of a lot of the talent that we have in communities across this state. We have it right in our area. You have some great retired superintendents, principals, teachers that are all very capable and should be involved in the process. So if we can assemble a couple of these teams from a statewide perspective, exercising and using the talent that we have available across this state, not from Albany, and then put these teams together. And the concept here is they would go in because the commissioner has questions. We know what our community is doing, but the commissioner has some other questions and criteria. So as a result of that, the team goes in, meets with the superintendent, school board, and the school. And as a result of that, they put together a plan of need. And with that plan of need would come, here's the requirements, A, B, and C for this school to really be turned around. In the case of Utica, we know that we have a higher concentration of students with disabilities, social economic conditions that are unique, cultural and language barriers. So these all need to be taken into consideration, in my opinion. And as a result of that, when you go back, when this school empowerment assistance team would go back to this commissioner and say, okay, we met with Utica. Here are what we see are problems, and here's what they need. Here's the financial resources they need. Here's the additional personnel they need, and here's any outside support service that they may need. And then the state ed department would be required to provide that over that 2-year period, so we could really see that that's the answer in order to make the changes and the progress that are being expected. So that's the essence of the concept.
And you know, Joe, I appreciate you coming on, because I know yesterday, you know, we had some callers, Mark and I started talking about it a bit, and you know, I think the misinterpretation of you know, your letter here and your concern was the fact, you know, like you said, it's not going to be a newly named commission. They're not going to come in, put the gamut down, if you will, and, you know, mandate what happens. I think you're saying let's get a group of folks that are already, you know, in these positions, but let's get them together and then focus and concentrate on those specific needs.
Yeah, I don't even want to get into names right now, but you got some great names in our community. You got Dr. Rick Timms, who's been very active across the state, retired superintendent. You got Brian McQueen, who's been an outstanding administrator, principal in the Whitesboro School District. So there's a lot of talent out there across the entire state. And let's use that. Let's go with stakeholders who understand and have had to deal with these challenges through their careers. Let them help the state education department. And as a result of that, you have the opportunity to present this plan of action not only from the local district, because sometimes there's a disconnect between the commissioner, the state ed department, and a local school district, but now you have these school empowerment assistance teams that would come as a result of a construct that's developed in Albany using local talent, but then in concert with the local school district come up with this new plan of action. The key here also is going to be there would be a requirement that the resources are provided. Now, this is going to be challenging because you're going to say to SED when the plan of need is presented and it says ABC, one of it is the amount of money that they think is going to be necessary over that 2-year period for that school, as well as any additional personnel and support services. That needs to be respected and complied with. Now,
Joe,
again,
let me interrupt you for a minute and say this to you, that I think one of the things that I would ask that you may keep in mind is that the people possibly who have the best handle on what the problem is with that school are the people who are in that school today, the teachers who are dealing with these students. The problem in many cases may come from the fact that the parents of these children are not well educated, can't help the kids with their homework. Some of them may not see education as being a very important aspect of this child's life. They have language barriers that may make it difficult for the children. And I think we can't lose sight of the fact that sometimes the people who are dealing with the problem within that school have a good handle on what's wrong. You know, the old cliche is if you want to find out how to get the floors cleaner, don't form a committee, ask the guy who cleans the floors what he needs. And I think we need to make sure that you get the input from the teachers' aides, the people who deal with these students on a day-to-day basis, because they possibly have a better understanding of what's wrong with the school or what the problems are than somebody who comes in from out of the area who may not get the feel for what's going on in that particular community, because it is a unique community that school serves.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Mark, and that's actually what we're talking about here, because you start with the superintendent, the teachers, the principal, the parents are hopefully all going to be involved. The group that we would put together would also, as I said, be stakeholders, people who have that familiarization. They would just be able to augment and to attest to what the requirements and the requests are from the local individuals, to give the commissioner more of a sense of comfort that these are legitimate requests and needs that have to be addressed. And the key here is to give them the resources. And that's been the problem throughout this entire process. I know we face a lot of fiscal challenges in the state, but education has to be a top priority. And as a result of that, you need to fund it properly. We've talked about funding to find a new funding formula. We've proposed legislation where you would see a formula which is much more predictable, fair, with a concentration on low wealth, high needs districts. So that has to be done, and there's been obviously a lot of squabbling about that, and there hasn't been a lot of activity, unfortunately. You had the CFE lawsuit, which forced the foundation aid, which was a beginning in the right direction, and then that was put aside because of the fiscal problems that the state faced a few years back. So we need to get on course there, too. But the key here is if you're going to identify these schools and you need to work with the schools, you need to provide them the resources in order to get the job done.
And Senator, I don't think, it wasn't really questioning what you proposed here, which is really, a great idea. Let's look at, instead of just letting it be, trying to deal with it, let's get into it. Let's kick it around. And I think it was more of the process and, how it would come about. So with Bruce Karam, Superintendent of Schools, meeting with folks at MLK the other day, drafting this letter to the New York State Education Commissioner, any response, from either one of those situations? What are you hearing?
Well, we've talked, Bruce and I have spoken, and we had a good conversation, and he understands and agrees generally that, we need to really focus and try to provide as much assistance as possible. And I did get a call back late yesterday afternoon. I have not had an opportunity to speak with the state ed department. The commissioner did not call, but I believe one of the assistant commissioners called, so I'm looking forward to having that conversation today. And as we indicated, Jay, this is a concept, and right now we need to be open and willing to consider a lot of different concepts and constructs in order to do what's right for the kids.
Fantastic. Senator Joe Griffo, I appreciate you taking the time on this beautiful Friday morning to explain a little bit more. Any plans for the weekend?
Oh yeah, you got a lot of great activities
Yeah.
going on. So get out to Woodsman next weekend, and there's so much going on this summer.
Yeah.
In our area. We talked about it last week when I had the chance to be at your studio. So just enjoy this the season and our community.
Before you get back into session, Joe, enjoy it.
All right, take care.
Take care, Joe. And Samantha LaMarca from the newsroom is probably. She might punch me in the face this morning if I don't get to a break. So if I come back, you know what happened, all right? So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back. You're listening to The Talk of the Town right here on 100.7 FM WUTQ.